Exactly. So let us then jump into the business. So first of all, hello everyone, I'm Nona Vikman. I'm the Customer Success Manager at Zoined. And for those of you who don't know Zoined, let me say a couple of words of who we are and what we do. So we are a powerful analytics platform that is connected to Tilroy. And we are here to extend the possibilities of reporting from Tilroy data, but we also come in handy when you want to connect external data sources to your sales data, such as, let's say, visitor counting data from cameras or workforce management data for personal cost and personal working hours and so on. So obviously that brings a lot of depth into your sales analysis and your optimization capabilities. Also, what we all have in Zoined already for everyone who wants to use it are weather data. For example, we have that ready integration, and we are just probably next month launching an integration to Google Business, which will enable people to bring in their opening hours and their Google reviews from customers. So a couple of very handy features there out of the box as well. Now, the real power of Zoined is that it is made for retailers. It has all of these existing KPIs for retailers, and we have existing pre-built reports. But it's also very customizable. So you can take any of the existing reports or start from the scratch and build something exactly for you or your company or your team. There's an unlimited amount of reports, users, teams, email reports, and you can also generate your own KPIs. We'll go into that a bit later, but you can also do things like timelines and these sort of things that you could do in a traditional BI tool, but we have made it a tiny bit easier. There are no coding skills necessary in Zoined. Also, what we offer are some of the new AI features that we're currently piloting. We'll have a tiny look at those as well. So we have a AI demand forecasting tool, which has been giving really good results on real customers, and also an AI-powered data analyst. Let's see if we have a bit of time to demo that to you as well. But yes, I want to approach today's agenda through very practical use cases. So obviously we'll be seeing some of the features that we have in Zoined, but today's goal is really to just inspire everyone of how they could more optimize their business throughout their data. First of all, when you log into Zoined, there are these dashboards that are already made. One of these is the store manager's weekly check. For this particular one, we've done a couple of examples that are only for this example. So you don't find this exactly in Zoined, but something similar. So let's say we are working as the Amsterdam store manager. There are some KPIs that we are responsible for. And as you all know, best strategic goals are the ones that are tied to real numeric outcomes, real KPIs that are frequently followed up. And for us, we've inputted here some sales budgets, obviously, and some other KPIs that the store manager needs to hit. The good part here is that when you see any KPI in Zoined, you can always drill down. So our sales last week have been doing really well. But if we want to know a bit more why they are progressing so nicely, we could just click on here to get a nice drill down on possibly category level. We could also change this into, let's say, day of week, or if we are looking at a more big picture, then we could change it to store, so how the stores are doing against last year. But in here we have a category split of sales, and we can see that most of our increased sales are actually coming from children's outdoors. And again, the power of Zoined is that you can quickly drill down into the data. So now it's actually drilling down to the store, but I would want to drill down to the product. So in the category of children's outdoor, which products are actually bringing in the most sales? And from here, we can see that apparently there are some new products, since there are no previous year figures for them, but the same 34 coat is bringing in nice amounts of new sales for us in this category. So this is the very basic on how to use your data in Zoined. Couple of other metrics that we have out of the box. Obviously, we have a lot more also visible in this portal, but also in the settings you could activate a lot more. But in here we have a couple of examples. So the goals for this particular store are to actually increase the average purchase value per receipt. And we can see here that we've been doing quite nicely against last year and the previous comparable period. We are also looking at our visitor conversion. So this particular store has the cameras and they know how many visitors are getting in. And they now know that about 40% of their visitors are actually buying something. And this is a really good metric to follow up in order to see if your salespeople are really actively engaging the customers. Then we have the sales per working hour, which is a good efficiency metric. So if in case you don't have the visitor count, the workforce management data in Zoined integrated, that's fine. You could also have efficiency metrics like sales per sales hour or sales per square meter of the store. So these are some things that many of our customers use. Also, for this particular company, they have this goal of also always including accessories into any customer's purchase. So they are actually following up a KPI called accessory sales proportion. They have a goal of 2% of the sales should be coming from the accessories sales. And we can see that last week wasn't too good for us in this KPI. And obviously that's something that the store manager now needs to work on. And we also have this new goal of getting rid of all of the women's shoes. So we are now following up per store the amount of women's shoes value of the total value in inventory. And obviously we want to get this down to the zero eventually, but every store manager needs to be aware of how much women's shoes they still have in stock. So this is some of the so-called end-of-life product for this company. You could always, it doesn't have to be a category necessarily. These KPIs can be built from basically anything. So there are companies who kind of mark these particular products that they are not going to order any longer with some sort of code, and then they can filter those out and use those as a metric. So that's completely possible. Then for this store, we have the sales per day, but also we are bringing in the weather data. So we can actually analyze how our sales have developed against the weather. And as we can see, the weather has been a bit nicer than last year this time. And actually the sales have been better. So maybe there is a correlation there. Let's say if it's a horse equipment store. So we know that the weather is next week turning a bit worse. There's a bit more rain coming in. Maybe we want to prepare for that. So we also have these sales forecasts here, which actually cover the next 6 days for this particular location. So always when you have the sales and weather forecast, you want to only pick one location, in which case the coordinates don't have to give any sort of aggregated or average value. So you want to only have it for one place. Or you could have several locations side by side only for one day. But we don't want to be adding up weather data. It's not the best practice. But from here, if I would want to see a bit better view of the next days, now after next week, but if I want to see the next 7 days, I could just change it from here easily and apply. And there we go. Now we can see a bit more of the weather data for the coming days. So the good thing about Zoined is that everything is very easily changeable also. So if you have a company report that your company is using, but then you want for you to create something that only specifically in your filters and so on, you could easily make a copy, place your filters there and save it as your own report. We are also now starting to bring in the customer feedbacks for any location that we have the coordinates and the Google URL for. We'll be sending our customers instructions on how to add the Google URL in case they want to start getting this Google data into their portals. But for example, this store manager would now see the couple of last feedbacks that his store has been getting. And obviously, it's important that the store managers are aware of the customer sentiment and how that's been developing. And then we have a nice team analysis chart here. So we can see for each salesperson how the past week has been going. We can see their daily sales per working hour. And obviously, some people have been off part of the days and there's no data for those days, but we can then see who's been doing the best job overall. So Dudley is the leading person in terms of how much sales they are generating per hour worked. It could also, again, here be the sales per sales hour. So that's not a problem at all. And then in here, we can just see in absolute terms, the sales per day for each salesperson. Of course, the management team needs to be up to date of their KPIs as well. So one of the best loved features in Zoined is actually our email reports. So any given dashboard that you have created, you can send out regularly to, let's say, a particular set of users or the whole company if you want to. But you can also generate specific email reports. And in this case, we are sending for our management team the weekly insights email. They are seeing in a very kind of nutshell sort of way their main KPIs that they need to follow. Maybe they have each Monday a sales or a management meeting and they want to discuss how their business is doing. They could just then go to their email, open the report, and then they have all of the same figures that they can then discuss in the meeting. So apparently the sales have been doing really well against last year. And all of the KPIs here, these can be freely selected in the email report builder. And any given email report here, you could just click on here and it will take you to the portal. So if you want to see the data in a more detailed way, or you can drill down or filter it, you can just click on the open in portal and it takes you to the Zoined interface. Then we've got an analysis of the stores, so how they have been changing. So here are the top changing stores. Beijing has been growing most since last year, apparently because they are a new store and there are no sales from last year. But right in after it is the London store, which has been generating almost 10,000 euros more than last year, and so on. So it will sort your stores based on how much they increased or decreased. And apparently we've been having a very good week since there are no stores with decreased sales against the comparison period. And what is a really good new feature that we have? This is in piloting, and especially for the piloting customers, it's free, and there will be a free trial, but this is actually a pro feature in the future. So we have this thing called Set Insights. So actually in the email, you can get some reasons why your sales have been growing or dropping. So in this case, our sales have been growing by a huge deal here. And Ted is actually making about 50 queries to find out what is causing the shift in the sales. And in here, we could get the actual shift reasons. So firstly, the Yamamoto Group Supplier sales have been increasing by a huge deal. So there must be something that this supplier or the marketing team or somebody is doing very differently because there's this huge increase in sales for Yamamoto. Another effect that we can see here is the average unit sales value. So we have been seeing over a double average sales value per receipt. So apparently we've done a very, very good price increase, or we've been doing a good job of promoting the products with a higher sales price. And then we can see that the visitor conversion by store has been going up in almost all of the stores. So New York, for example, and Beijing actually, Beijing is a new store, so obviously that would change quite a lot, but it has the steepest effect, and it has been bringing about 10 grand difference in our this week's sales. And then the steepest opposing move. So we can also see what has been going down on the other hand. So the average units per transaction actually has been decreasing for us. Maybe we increased the prices that much. And now we are seeing some negative results, especially in Beijing because of that. And this is actually, Beijing is a new store. So obviously, yeah. But in that case, we can see it by store here. And you can also attach any kind of existing reports. Many of our customers do so that they generate this table and then they attach it as an Excel to their email reports. So every week, this supplier or this management team gets this Excel and they can just open it from here. And it will actually download it into their computer, and then they can easily open and modify it in a normal Excel file. And then in here, we have the basic sales split per day, and we can see how that these past 7 days have been going. Now, another good way to utilize your data is to find the hidden opportunities there. We have these reports, for example, this margin increase opportunities, where we have actually established a baseline. So we have, in the past 90 days, our average sales margin across all of the stores and all of the products has been 56.7%, and that's the target. But some products are selling with a higher margin. So in case we want to have some discount campaigns that wouldn't then bring down our average margin, these would be potential products in which we could give the discounts, because we wouldn't then be jeopardizing our general sales margin levels because of that discount. Then, as we all know, knowing your customers and really keeping your customers loyal is very important for any retail business. So we have these ready customer dashboards, and many of our customers have been building their own, obviously, where you can track key customer KPIs, like the number of identified customers, customer repeat purchase. So how many times did this customer come in the last reporting period? So number of customers who came at least twice. And then the rate of transactions with identified customer. So apparently, almost half of our customers are using some sort of customer ID when they are purchasing. So maybe it's some sort of loyalty program or something. But this is really good number here. Then we can also see the day-by-day split here, for example, and we can see how the number of identified customers is actually affecting our customer average purchase, because we know that the customers who are more frequent, they often also buy more when they come in. And then we have just a normal list of customers who have been purchasing and how much they've been purchasing during the last 4 full weeks. And there are more pages here. You could just scroll it like this, or you could increase it from here if you wanted to. And again, we have the average customer feedback here. Apparently for these stores, we don't have any feedback in the reporting period. But what is really nice about Zoined is that you can generate one dashboard and then you can easily filter it. So let's say I'm a manager who is in charge of 2 different stores. So I'm running the Helsinki and the Stockholm stores. So I could either look at their aggregated figures here, or then I could just look either one. So let's say I only want to look Stockholm now. I can easily adjust the filter from here. And instantly all of the dashboard KPIs are adjusted. Or if I wanted to, I could here from the filters change my timeline very easily. So let's say I want more than rolling 4 full weeks. I want the 12 last weeks. I could just change it from the filters panel and save, and then it's all adjusted in whole this dashboard. Now, another very valuable thing to use your customer data for is obviously the marketing. I know there are some marketing softwares that do this sort of thing for you, but in case you don't have it, or in case those features aren't quite enough, we have a lot of robust things that you could generate customer lists with. So let's say we are having in the London store a children indoors campaign. And we want to know the list of customers who've been purchasing from this category so we can target them in our campaign. So we want to do some email blasts before the campaign actually starts in the store. We can just here generate a table that we filter. I have at some point changed it. So here we have the London store customers who have been having some sales above 100 but below 1,000 for some reason. I could also just have it that they have had above 100 also. And then we limit to the category of children outdoors. And then we get a list of customer emails who have been purchasing from that category in the last 90 days. And obviously another important communication group would be the customers who have been purchasing but have become a bit more inactive in the past, let's say past month. So in here, we have a list of customers in Amsterdam stores who have been buying something in the last 90 days. So the timeline here is the 90 days, but whose latest sales date is before December 22nd. So that it's been over a month since they purchased something. So now we can generate a list of emails of the customers who we might want to kind of attract to come again now. So same report, different function. Another well-loved report in Zoined is actually the cross-sell report. And this is something that you have to first wrap your mind around, but once you do it, it's really powerful. So this actually tells you, we do this selection, which can be a product or a product category or something else. So we first do the selection, and in this case, it's the product called Yamamoda Crew Bikini. And it shows us actually which products have been sold on the same receipts with this product. And what we can use this for is actually on, for example, how we arrange our stores. So if we know that these products are often sold together, we should maybe put them close by each other in the store physically. Or if we have a web store, we can do some recommendations. So if you have this product in your basket, then maybe you would like to purchase this one as well. And of course, the other thing is the slow movers, everyone's favorite. So we have this slow moving product and we want to get rid of it. So let's do a bundle campaign. If you buy this product, you get this one with half a price. So we could, let's say, we could pick a similar product here, which is this Yamamoda. And then we see which products are most often sold with it. And we can bundle those together to get them moving. So this is the cross-sell report. Now, that's it for the top line analysis. So we've been mostly looking at sales related things for now. And if there are any particular questions to any of those reports that we've been looking at so far, now would be a good time to discuss more about those. And after that, we'll be moving ahead into the inventory related reports. So just raise your hand or send a comment if you have any questions. And no questions so far. So I'll just move on to our inventory related things. So firstly, many companies want to limit the amount of SKUs they have in their inventory. And one of the best practices would actually to be to get rid of those SKUs that are bringing you the least sales relatively to all of the products. So in this relative sales chart that you can find from our always present analytics library under assortment and relative sales. Okay. Now we have a couple of questions actually. So for example, Jonas has a question about the working hours. So there are companies who do upload. So we have a feature where you can easily upload data into Zoined from an Excel file, for example. But for example, many other companies are connecting their workforce management platform. So if you are using a software in which you are planning the shifts, in which you have the let's say personal cost data, you can connect those data sources also to Zoined, and in those cases you will get these combination reports. And Naomi has a question in Dutch, so maybe, and I think Christophe actually answered it. So if that's fine, we can then move ahead back to the relative sales. Great. Okay. So now in the relative sales chart, we can see that out of all of our sales, the most sales are coming in from the children outdoor category, and then the children indoor, and so on. But then we actually want to look more closely about this end of the tail here. So least of our sales in relation to the other sales are coming from actually the accessories category. And from here, we could then drill down to see which products within that category are bringing in the least sales. And we can see that the gloves are there again on the end, and you can always drill down to the EAN level. And if you have, let's say you're selling clothes and you have the colors and the sizes, you can go always to the color or size level, or the combination of color and size level. So you can easily go down to the more deepest level of your data from here. So now let's see. Apparently I have closed one of my reports. So one very familiar report to many purchasers and, let's say, controllers and any retail person would be the slow mover report. And obviously, slow mover reports are something that can be. Okay. Yes, sorry. I now got a translation. So can the dashboards be seen in Dutch? Yes, they can. I did mention it very quickly in the beginning, but from here, you have the list of languages. So because I don't know any Dutch, it's easier for me to present in English, obviously, but from here you could see the same information in any language. So let's take this cross-sell report from here and change this language from here. You could see here. So all of the metrics and all of the groupings would now be then in Dutch. And getting back to the slow movers report. So I know that many of you have seen a lot of different slow mover reports. However, the beauty of Zoined is the amount of data you can get to it. For example, in here, we have a lot of different things like the product name and code, obviously, and then the supplier name behind that. But we are also bringing in the product image, which makes it visually much more easy to understand. We can see, obviously, the period and inventory values from top to bottom. So this is the one that we want to get rid of first because it's taking up the most space in our Helsinki inventory. Then we can see the sales in pieces and period and inventory amounts in pieces. And these are always for this last 90 days, which we have now selected. But obviously, you could use the normal 365 last 365 days or last month or whatever timeline is the best for your company. So you can get a lot of combined KPIs in these sort of reports. I'm now keeping it quite small for the purposes of the demo, but I have a nice list of additional KPIs that you could use if you wanted to. You can see the latest sales date. So obviously we have wanted to in here filter the products that are only that haven't been selling anything in this reporting period, that do have period and inventory value, and for which the first inventory arrival date was actually more than a month ago. So we don't want to include the newest products here. But obviously this timeline could be different here as well. So let's say that for your company, a new product would be something that arrived 3 months ago. You could just change that date here as well. And now here, obviously, one of the beauty is also that you can get the sales data and inventory data, but also the product master data combined here. So we would know that what is the, actually, I don't have it in the demo, but we do have it in the production system where you can see the latest inventory unit price, obviously. So how much one piece is costing you in inventory, but also you could see how much is the list price in your system for that particular product, or you could see how much on average you have been getting per piece. So if you've been getting discounts or something. And obviously, as with anything in Zoined, it's very easy to change the filters and the timelines. So let's say that now we want to have the Amsterdam store values for this particular report. I could change it from here. And the best practice is always for, especially if you bring in a lot of data, so product level and maybe daily level data, and images and something like that, the best practice would be to filter it per store or per supplier, because that will keep the loading times nice and easy. Obviously, we are optimized for speed, so you can still get fast reports even though they are really big. But if you want to have them like instantly, it's always best to filter them a bit. From another perspective, obviously, is the supplier report, which is one of the, again, most used feature in Zoined. So you have the ability to firstly group the products. We have the category and product name level sums here. And then we've got the rows per EAN. And we have the KPIs per EAN and the particular images. So in here, I could see, again, a combination of the sales data and the inventory data, which is a very handy feature, and a lot of our customers love it. So we could see, for example, the sales without VAT and the discounts, sales in pieces, period and inventory amount. You have different kinds of variations of all of these KPIs. So if you would rather look at the average period amounts, you could select that one instead of this one, or both of them if you want to. And in these cross tabs, you can also have a month-to-month division. So it would make this report quite big, and I don't normally use it. But if you'd want to see the sales per month, so we have the last 90 days. But if you would want to, let's say, for each of those months within that last 90 days, you would want to know what the sales for that particular month were, you could add a grouping to the columns here. And then you could see the sales per month and inventory values per month, for example. And in here, you can, again, analyze the latest sales date. When did it first come to the inventory? When was the latest inventory amount received for this particular product? And you can see some of the ready-made KPIs, such as inventory turnover in days, and the inventory sell-through rate, and the days of supply. Oh, yes, absolutely, it is possible to see the sales per store. So let's, so if you, for some reason, wouldn't have inventory data in Zoined, and if you have Tilroy Zoined connection, then it's really possible for us to just add it there. But we can, maybe you could send our support, so support@zoined.com, an email and ask about this, or you can use this question mark here to directly contact our support from the portal. So it's from here and then the chat, and then you can type your question there. Apparently this demo isn't working too well, but you could type the question in there, and we'll get back to you on your particular inventory data and where to find it from. So here we go. And for Sophie's question, let's go back to the sales per store data in a moment. But yeah, that's absolutely possible. And we have a question from Floris, which I would need the translation from if someone can do that. But yes, so these are just some of our KPIs that are available in the Zoined Tilroy integration. But some additional ones, for example, would be the purchase order intake and the inventory reorder point, if that's a data that you're keeping up in your own product master. Or, for example, the quantity delivered is one metric that I know it's made for Tilroy users who might not necessarily have that metric in Tilroy, but we have made an assimilation of that metric in Tilroy. I don't have it in the demo, but I can link a nice instruction article on that particular KPI after this this webinar for those interested in that particular metric. So let's check in this. I'll make a short detour now, and I'll show you how you can see the sales per store. For example, in here, I would be creating a new report. You can get it easily from the existing ones, but I just want to demonstrate how easy it is. I'll actually change the language back to English for myself. Here we go. So we first need to name the report, then we can decide to whom it's visible to. And then we can adjust the timelines and the comparisons if we want to. Now, I know many of you want to see the sales without the VAT, so that's obviously available here. And it depends on how you actually want to see the data, but one of my favorites is the bar chart. So now we could here see the sales per store versus previous year in a bar chart, or you could easily change the same thing into a table. So you could see per store the sales without VAT and the comparison values. We have other nice features here in the tables, for example, the proportion. So from our total sales in this time period, 15.73% came from Los Angeles, and the next biggest proportion came from London store. So good additional features if you are interested. Then another very valuable data for any store managers or purchaser. Yeah. Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah. So Sophie asked if the slow mover report could be viewed per store. So yes, we could quite easily. In here, obviously, now I've filtered only the Amsterdam store. So let me just remove that filter from there. But I could now here add actually, slow mover report is a normal table. Yeah, that's a good question. So slow mover report is built on the normal table because we want to use the range filters. To, for example, filter out the most recent products and so on. So in this sort of report, we don't have the ability to drill down the data on the columns. But what we could do instead is that we could, on the rows, put the store level data. So I'll go now to edit this report. And in these groupings, I would actually just add the store information. And now we have the same values, but per store. So, yeah, there we go. I'll just save this here. And now we have the same report, but per store. And then we have another question. So when calculating the margin, is the gross or net, including purchase discounts, purchase price taken into account? So we have, again, a lot of different variations on the margins. And if I understand correctly, you are asking about the discounts. So in normal cases, we are always talking about the discounted prices. So your margin percentage is taking into account the discounts in those sales. Yes. I do think we do have one metric, which is actually the list price minus I think it was the average inventory value in that reporting period. So you could also have that sort of a calculatory margin for, which is depending on the list price for that particular product. Yes. Great. Did we have any other question? And does this report take course or not? Yeah, that was kind of the same. Yeah, good. Good. Then we could move on to the other side of the stock questions. So obviously, it is important to know that we are not which are the slow movers and how to get rid of them. But we also want to make sure that our high sellers always have enough stock. Which is where this product low on stock report comes in handy, because you can see for the products which have been sold in the last 30 days and for which the days of supply is the least. So, for example, Elite Scarf here seems to have only 3 days of stock left to us anymore in this particular Amsterdam store. And below this, we actually have the ability to filter down into a particular products. Sorry, now I removed it. But we could filter this particular report based on the product code. And we could then easily see which stores have more of this Elite Scarf in stock. So we can see that even though Amsterdam is not carrying a lot of it, we actually have quite a lot of this scarf in the Stockholm store, for example. Obviously, shipping something between countries is not the normal thing to do, but possibly there are stores closer by from which you could transfer some stock, or then you obviously, if that's not a possibility, then you know that you need to purchase more of the Elite Scarf ASAP because it's running quite low. So days of supply is a very good thing to have in handy in your reports. Another thing that we have in Zoined are these email reports which work on alert basis. So they are not sent regularly, they are sent when certain conditions are met. And for this particular alert email, we are sending it whenever some product has the days of supply which is lower than 5. Obviously, many times the lead times to get some goods into your stores are longer, so you might want to have a bigger threshold here. But in any case, now we could see from here a list of products which have the least inventory and which have under 5 days of supply value. And actually, one nice additional fact is that you can send these sort of email reports to your team, yes, but you can also create just email users. For example, some of our customers are sending out these sort of either regular or alert emails directly to their suppliers, which will obviously save a lot of time. You can send suppliers, for example, nice dashboard with their KPIs, so how much products they have in stock in your stores and these days of sales, so the supplier can also react if some of the high sellers are low on stock in your stores. So and obviously you can, if you have some kind of general reports that you want your suppliers to know with some KPIs and so on, you can attach them as an Excel and send them regularly to your suppliers. So this is a nice way to reduce the workload of the supplier communication side. And it's a very used feature for many of our retail customers. All right. And about the suppliers. So another important thing for any retailer is to know who are the good suppliers and from whom it might not be good to purchase anymore. So we have this supplier comparison dashboard where you basically can see, for example, the most sold supplier products. So Yamamoto is leading by quite a lot, but you can also see the sales margin. So Yamamoto has been doing really good against last year. Their sales have increased, but also their sales margin has increased. But then again, for example, this Disney clothing here, their sales have been decreasing, even though their margin has not increased at all. So this is maybe something that we want to have a closer look at this supplier, maybe negotiate some terms or give some campaigns to get rid of some extra products and so on. But in any case, we want to spot the lower performance from here. And in here, we have a bit of the same information, but in much more detail. So we have this table, which lists our suppliers based on the amount of sales they're generating. And then we have several margins and the comparisons for those. So for example, again, we can see the Yamamoto has been increasing against last year, both with sales and sales margin. And we can also see that they are improving on the return percent. So obviously, it tells a bit about the quality of the supplier if they have a really high return percent of the sold items. You can see the average discounts given for these suppliers' products, and you can see the GMROI. Obviously, GMROI, again, very important KPI, which you have ready in Zoined. But if you would want to then arrange your suppliers based on the GMROI they're generating, you could just change it to the top of this list here in the metrics. It would move to the front of this table, and the metrics would be automatically sorted based on who has the highest GMROI. You can always change the sorting as well. So if you'd want to see the lowest GMROI, so let's get rid of the suppliers with the lowest GMROI. So we are actually losing money on some of these suppliers. So it might be worth considering to letting go those products altogether and not ordering from them anymore. So, or if we would want to have them like alphabetically arranged, that's also possible. But yes, this is again something that's quite important in terms of management in retail. Now, I already touched upon the supplier reporting emails, but this is just to give you an example. So one supplier, Yamamoto, is getting a weekly supplier report from us about their sales. So here's a daily split. The sales have actually been going up quite well. And then we can see from the category point of view which categories have been increasing the most and which have been decreasing the most. And we can see a bit of the sales split also. So apparently suits are bringing in the most sales for Yamamoto. And then here we can see Yamamoto's top selling products. And we could also see the sales in VAT, sales in pieces, but we could do the same with inventory values. So for example, if we wanted to let them know which products have the lowest inventory values or the lowest days of sales, we could send that to them also on a regular basis. And then we can see which stores have been actually selling most of the Yamamoto products here. Let's see if we have gotten any additional question? No questions at this point. Good. We are actually quite well on time today. So now I wanted to show you some further down the line efficiency reports. One of which would be the sales pressure analysis, which is a very handy tool in terms of, let's say, personnel staffing resource planning. So here is our sales pressure chart, which will tell you, based on weekday and the time of day, how many orders we're getting in general. So this is the last 4 weeks average. And we can quite quickly spot that the Saturdays are our highest selling. Saturday afternoons are our highest selling times of day. So yes, obviously always good to make sure that you have enough staff working on those days. Other very valuable sales pressure and actually optimization possibilities here we can find from the visitor hit rates. So we can actually analyze which times of day we are not converting our visitors into sales, into purchasing visitors the most efficiently. So for example, Monday mornings, only 1/3 of the visitors are buying something, whereas we can see that on Tuesday mornings, it seems in the past 4 weeks at least, we have been doing 75% out of the customers, visitors coming in. So now it would be a matter of the staffing or the store manager or whoever is doing the staffing and the workforce planning, they should maybe look at this if this is something that they should, maybe Mondays are something that they should put more salespeople on Monday mornings. And then another way to analyze this, apparently we don't have too much demo data here for Helsinki store, but we could see the sales per working hour actually per the time of day and the weekday. So we can see that Saturday afternoons and Sunday afternoons are actually bringing in the most sales per working hour. But then again, Monday mornings are not good in terms of sales per working hour. So again, we might not want to put more staff on there. So and actually Friday afternoons are really high. And this is one of those metrics in which it's not always easier to say that the highest values are the best. So if your sales per working hours are actually too high, it can end up into lost sales, because that might mean that you have quite a lot of queues in your cash or in your cash registers and so on. So you might want to analyze your data a bit to find your optimal sales per working hour level. And we do have reports for that as well, which we can have a look at if you want to. Obviously, I don't know if anyone here would be having the staffing data in Zoined, so maybe we won't go into too much detail on those for this webinar. And now another really good feature that we have in Zoined are the sales forecasts. So you can actually see per day what the sales have been against the previous year corresponding period, but you can also see the AI forecast that we've been generating. Now, the week one hasn't been too good on the forecast level, but I know why that is. We have only been getting the forecast since the beginning of January. So actually the week one was half on the December side, so we didn't have the forecast for that amount of the week. So that's why the data, the forecast is not all the way there. But for the weeks for which we actually have the forecast for the full week, it has been really good results. So from now here you could see that we have been actually growing quite nicely against last year, but this might not always be the case for each week. So this is something that you could actually always also use in your staffing planning. And of course, we can always see this same data for any store that you want to, and we could have this same data in an Excel where you could have then the stores as the grouping if you wanted to have everything side by side. But obviously, many times the staffing is done per store, so this is a good view in that sense. Now, do we have any questions from the audience regarding these reports that we've just now seen? I could, because we do have a bit of time, we could next go. Yeah, so in here we could then have a look at our demo. But Naomi has a question about the web store sales. So there are a couple of ways to separate your web store from the brick and mortar stores. There's the possibility of creating a separate store. So there are the Amsterdam and Helsinki stores, and then the web store, which is handled as a separate store. But we also have a dimension in Zoined called sales channel. So if you have separate channels through which the sales are flowing into your store sales, you could then filter out the sales channels. So let's say in here, I wanted to, which could I use? Let's go to my new report. So for example, here, I could actually do a cross tab where I would have the grouping per store and then the sales channel here. Or now actually in this demo, I don't have the sales channel apparently. But sales area could be a bit similar. So you could then have the store split and the sales channel split here. So in many cases, that could be the brick and mortar store and the wholesale and the web store, for example. And of course, then you could use it not as a grouping, but a filter. So let's say that I would only now in this report want to see the sales channel web store, I could just open the organization and select the sales. Oh, now here I have the channel. For whatever reason, it's visible there. But yes, in here, I could then either filter only the e-commerce sales like this, or then I could filter out the e-commerce sales. So everything else but the e-commerce would be visible. Obviously now here, since I have the e-commerce as a separate store, it will just mainly mean that all of the stores are left untouched and the e-commerce row is no longer visible. But if those sales would be part of your store's normal sales, then you could filter out based on the sales channel. So that's one possibility. All right. Do we have... Can the salesperson report know the difference between sales in the stores and sales in the web? Yes, it can. Yeah. And which metrics are taken into consideration? That's a very good question. So, as I mentioned, the AI demand forecasting is a piloting phase feature. So, we are building it every day. And currently, the KPIs that we do have available are the sales with and without VAT, the sales in pieces, with and without returns, and the amount of orders with and without returns. In the future, we will probably have more KPIs like the sales margin forecast, which would then kind of give you the understanding of if your product mix changes, it will kind of change your sales margin. So those sort of derived KPIs should be available in the future as well. And obviously, in the long run, we will head into the inventory prediction side as well. But that is something that we'll tackle once we have the sales forecasting in mint condition, so to speak. Here we go. And I can see that there are no further questions so far. So let me just show you our AI analyst. Okay, but I mean, which data does AI? Oh, which data? Yes, very good question again. So the AI forecasting is an algorithm that will use your sales data and find the seasonal patterns and the trends. So let's say that it knows that normally during your Christmas time, your sales tend to go up before the Christmas, and then there are no sales for the Christmas days. It will know those sort of things, and it will take them into consideration much better than a human would. We are also now bringing in the store opening hours. So from the Google business, if your opening hours are in the Google business available, our forecasts will know for the future days how your stores will be open. So if a store is, let's say it's closed for renovation, or there's something else going on, a public holiday or something like that, our AI forecast will be able to take that into consideration. What it won't at this stage take into consideration are, for example, local events and so on. So that's not something that we have currently developed. It might be coming in the future. And another thing that it won't take into considerations are any campaigns that you might be doing in the future. We do have plans to enable that sort of adjustment, so we can generate the forecast for you, and then you can download it and make your own adjustments. So if you know that this particular product is being heavily promoted next month, you could just kind of adjust that into the AI forecast and then upload it back again, and it would be a combination of the power of AI and also the human knowledge of the future plans of your business. I hope that answered the question a bit better. Okay, good. Hey, then let's go to Zed, who is our new AI data analyst. I know as I've been a controller in my past, and I know that it can be a job where there are a lot of demand on the controller's time. So if you want to kind of dig deep into your data and you don't necessarily have the skills, so let's say all of the store managers would want to know what's going on beneath the the figures, they would either have to go through the maybe the controller or finance manager, or then they would have to kind of understand themselves how to dig into the data. But we are now introducing an AI analyst here, who could then say, show me sales for last week compared to previous year. So you can ask it to generate charts like this, so you don't have to. Yes. So you don't no longer have to always kind of click into all of these features here in Zoined to generate charts. You can just type in what you want, and Zed will actually generate the chart for you. And this is also handy if you're, let's say, walking in a store and you'd want to know how this category sales have developed in my particular store. You can ask Zed to generate that chart for you, and it will do it with voice commands, which I won't now demonstrate the voice because it doesn't work too well on the webinar. But it would generate the sales graphs based on my requests. But what's really powerful about Zed is that now we can see that our sales are actually down from the previous corresponding week. And then when I ask it, why did the sales decrease, it will actually crunch through the numbers and give me the answers from the data. And this part takes a bit longer, and obviously depending also on the time of day. We are using OpenAI to kind of crunch the numbers. But from here, we can then see both the charts behind the figures and also the written text answers. So for example, here we know that one of the reasons for the sales drop was the Los Angeles store, for which the sales actually drop against the previous comparable period quite a lot. Also, on the other hand, the Beijing store saw the visitor conversion rate going up, but then the number of visitors coming in, so the actual traffic, is going down. Now, obviously, if you don't have the visitor data in the portal, Zed won't analyze it. So it will use the data that is present in your particular company data. So it will crunch through the suppliers, the products, the days, name it. So it will find out the biggest moves within your data, and it will list them for you. And it will also generate the charts while it does it. So here was a short demo of Zoined and of the main features that our customers are using. But now we would have a nice amount of time left for us to, we can build some reports if you want to, or I can ask any question, and Christophe can also answer any questions you might have now. And let me just quickly show my slides. So in here, you could find our email contacts. So if any questions arise after this webinar has ended, you can also always email me or Christophe. So for example, if you want to know how to get more data into Zoined. Thank you, Glenn. So if you would like to know about the existing integrations, like for example, we do have several workforce management integrations already available that you can plug and play into Zoined very easily. You just shoot me an email. Or if you have something that you want to ask from the Tilroy side. So this KPI looks like this is Tilroy. How do I have it in Zoined? Or can I don't yet have this particular dimension in Zoined. How can I get from Tilroy to Zoined? So all of these sort of questions we can answer, and then obviously our support at zoined.com can answer any like usage related questions as well. And then so Zoined doesn't currently propose minimum and maximum. We do have those data points though. So if you have that data in Tilroy, so the question was actually, can Zoined propose a minimum and maximum stock per article? That's not something that we do. However, that data can be brought from Tilroy to Zoined if you have it in Tilroy, or we could probably utilize the custom metrics to generate that sort of suggestion. I just have to think about how to do it. So we could probably, obviously, yeah. Any metric is normally always calculated based on the current filters. So, and then the product master data tends to be where the minimum and maximum are. So you might want to actually just set some targets in Zoined for the inventory values or the minimum and maximum if you want to, and then you can have them in the report, and you can actually place them based on the product ID. And Lisa had a question, is it possible to rewatch? And yes, we have been recording this webinar, and it will be, Oliver will be automatically sending it to the webinar participants. I would imagine we'll send it after the webinar once we've done some perfect. Thanks. Yeah, so we'll send it to you, and feel free to watch it again and obviously shoot us with questions. Now, actually, Christophe, I wanted to say that if you have anything to add and any points that you might want to give to our users or potential users, please feel free to shoot a message also. So we haven't been really discussing the Tilroy side today that much, but obviously Christophe is here and could be answering to any of those questions. Yeah, good question about SED availability. So yes, SED is available for the pilot customers. And if you would be interested in piloting, feel free to shoot me a message. So the piloting program is free. There are no costs, and you won't be automatically upgraded to the Pro subscription. So there are no extra costs. But what we would like from the pilot customers would be, once you've had a bit of a run and try with the SED feature, we'd love to hear feedback. So either as an email or some sort of questionnaire or as an interview. So if you would be interested in that sort of a deal, then please shoot me a message and we'll look at if we can include you in the pilot program. And if it wasn't visible how I got into the SED, so it's in the demo, it's available for everyone, but for those piloting, there will be a button here below your name in the portal from where you can open up the SED panel. And actually, one pointer to anyone who wants to try SED, it's always good that if you ask a question and then you want to ask something else, it's good to click on the new chat. It will kind of, because SED tries to keep the context. And if you ask then on a very different subject, it might want to combine the questions you have asked in the same chat. So click on the new chat and then it will kind of erase the history in that sense. You can always find the history from this button, but always good to start from the scratch if you change the subject. Yes, so no further comments from Christophe either. guess we could keep the lines open for a couple of more minutes. We kind of went through a lot of the questions within the presentation already, which is why we now don't really need the time that much to go through those. So we might be actually early today. Yep. Yeah, of course. Actually, let me just hop on here. So these are not the 5 ways. In that sense, I'll go through those in a bit. But what I would love for anyone who participated today to kind of take away from this is that there are a couple of very important ways that you can use your data. One of which would be to understand why your numbers have developed the way they have. You have the tools and some things you have learned in this webinar and some things that SED can help you do. And obviously, it's also very important to not only for the high management to look at the numbers, but for the store level management and even the shift managers to kind of own their KPIs and understand and be aware of them frequently, because it's those KPIs that are regularly monitored and those strategic goals that are set and tied to numeric KPIs, they perform a lot better, according to many researches. So tie your goals into KPIs and make people follow them up. And also doing marketing and these sort of store replacement or store arrangement decisions and anything like this, you can do it by hunch. And a lot of people also working a lot with marketing and these sort of things day to day will have a very good hunch. But you can also utilize your data to actually just make really precise decisions and you utilize your resources really efficiently. So that's one thing I wanted to highlight. Now, there are a couple of different ways that you can optimize your business. So you can increase your sales, obviously, while protecting your sales margin. There are some ways to do that. There are ways to kind of keep in touch with your customer base and know how you're doing, attracting the loyalty and so on. And also it's important to understand how your products flow together. But then on the inventory side, we know that it's always good to have as least inventory as you can while still maintaining a proper level of inventory for the high sellers. And this can be obviously the most important way to do this is with the data, because you can look so much more ahead with the data than you could just walking in the store and so on. So, and obviously not only the data, but the combination of sales data with your inventory data and possibly other data sources. That's the most powerful way to actually plan your business and enhance your business. And the beauty of Zoined obviously is that you can bring in all of those data points into one single report. And you can use those reports from a multiple years. We now only mainly looked at the couple of this particular reporting seasons and the previous season and the last year, but you could bring in data from 2 years back or 3 years back. And it's there in the Zoined and you have it available on all of your reports. And then obviously for purchasing, again, it's so good to have all of that data side by side, neatly organized, easily filtered. So utilizing your data that way can just really make your teams more efficient and more smart in terms of the decisions they make. So I don't know if that was 5 points or 10 points, but there you go. That's my summary. About Zoined, please no world politics or investment opportunities. I'm not good to answer those. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Oh, sales pressure forecast and where to find it. Let me just. Yeah, good question. So actually, that's something I generated for this particular webinar, but we could add it to the partner reports in Tilroy. So we won't have all of the same data points for everyone, because if you don't have the visitor counting cameras or the working hour data, we won't have all of that out of the box. But we can generate the number of orders and that sort of sales pressure for you meant the forecast. Yes, I'm sorry. So again, forecasting is a pro feature which we are piloting currently. So that will be available for the pilot users. And if you are interested in piloting, please feel free to contact me. I can set you up. But currently it's only available for the pilot customers. And obviously in the future we'll be having it in the pro package. But the sales pressure heat map actually was the one that I was thinking about. And I think we have some in this analytics library. Footfall heat map, for example. It was this sort of thing. Yeah. But we could probably most definitely add the sales pressure in general into the Tilroy partner reports, that it would be available there for everyone. Yes, there are some store heat maps actually here in the analytics library, readily available. Yeah. Cool. I think we could wrap it up at this point. But in case you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me or Christophe. My email can also be found from the Zoined website, as can many other things, such as said demo videos and some other items. We do have, in case there are any particular features that you want to know more about, in this help button in the Zoined portal. On the home tab, you have Help Center. So please feel free to browse through it and see if there's anything here that you would want to read more about. And if you have any questions, you can normally find the answer from here. And also we have this collection of how to Zoined videos. You can find them through here in this help button, but you can also find them from Zoined's YouTube channel. So if you want to dig deeper into how to create a report or how to create an email report, you can go to YouTube and check it out. All right. So thank you everyone for today. It's been a pleasure, and I hope to do many more webinars with Tilroy. Thank you. Bye.